I grew up amidst a lot of violence in the home. I witnessed violence happening every single day. So I believe my childhood was rocked in a way. I didn't get to experience the childhood.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Aligned Voices, and we have a very wonderful guest with us today, all the way from Uganda, and her name is Hadijah. Hadijah, welcome to Aligned Voices.
Thank you. I am happy to be here.
So who is Hadijah? And how would you introduce yourself to those who are listening to you for the first time?
Hadijah is a mother. She's an advocate of child rights. I love children. I love young people. I am a journalist. I am a communications person by training. And that's who I am. I like to impact lives. I feel I have the capacity, however little it is, I have the ability to do something to make someone happy or someone live a different life from what I lived, from wherever they are. So yes, I love to impact lives. Yeah, that is Hadijah. Simple.
Before high sound for children, who was Hadijah as a child?
Hadijah was a young girl from a semi-urban place in the city, in the slummy areas of Kawempe in Kampala, but back then it was too much of slum. My mother was a single mother. By then, she had actually, I don't know how they call that, she had run away from my father's house and she had rented a room in Kawempe in some slum. I am a daughter of a lady who is a vendor. My late father was also a truck driver. So that is the two people that gave birth to me. And by the time I could understand, I was living in a one-roomed house in Kawempe, and I used to go to Kawempe Muslim school that was across. So I would wake up in the morning, be taken to school, and then I would return in the afternoon. I think I was about 8, 9 years around there. That is when my mother went back to live with my father. And by then my father had constructed a permanent house where we went to live. It's also in Kawempe. And then I started living with both my parents. But my father used to leave home for like 2-3 months. And he would be away. So we were basically raised for the first years, I was raised by my mother, who was a vendor. She would go to work in the morning. We also go to school. We return in the evening, and she also returns in the night. So life went on like that until I think I was in primary 6 when my father and my mother split. Yeah, there was a lot of violence. I grew up amidst a lot of violence in the home. I witnessed violence happening every single day. And at some point in time, my father was a polygamous man. So he had gotten another wife, I think a second wife, but there were so many women around. But this time around, he brought her home to live in the same home with my mom. And my mom would not stomach that. I remember that day when we all waited for my mom to return to tell her, Mommy, Dad has brought home another woman. And that was the end. That was the last time I saw my parents together. So my mom immediately the next day she packed her bags and left, and she never returned. But I was so close to my father, very close to my father for those years that I lived with him. So I chose to stay with my father. My sisters went with my mother. Meanwhile, my mother had only girls. She had only girls, and that used to be an excuse for my late father to look for other women. And so, but for me at that point in time, I chose to stay with my father. And that is when I started to live a life with my stepmother.
So, how was it growing up with your stepmother now that your mother was not around and there was someone who you had never grown up with?
It was not easy, especially when my father was away. Because my father is not a man who would go and then come back. No. He would go and then stay 2 months, 3 months away. So all that time he was away. But my father really trusted me as a girl, and he loved me so much. I keep telling people, I don't know if there is any man who has loved me like my late father. He loved me so much that by then he handed everything to me. I was very little, but he would leave me home with the money for upkeep and everything at home. And that didn't go down well, of course, with my stepmother. So we continued to live in that tense environment. But I would look forward to days when my father, of course, is home. But then sometimes he would come back home. And then there is that violence. I don't know. I grew up amidst a lot of violence.
You were witnessing so much violence around you. How were you holding yourself? How were you focusing on your studies or co-curricular activities? How were you holding yourself together?
I can't even tell you that I did it like this. I would be lying to say that I had this, that I think I lived each day as it came. Of course, it was hurting. Sometimes I would feel sad as a child. But again, you move on as a child, as children. Sometimes things don't stay for a long time, especially if you get something that diverts you. So I lived in that environment. It had an impact on me. It's actually later that I realized it affected me. But back then I didn't realize. Yes, I knew I wasn't living the best life, but it wasn't on my mind. Maybe because I would go to school in the morning and return in the afternoon. Of course, I remember one of those days that actually hit me most was there was a lot of housework. As a child, you would wake up, do a lot of housework before going to school. By the time you reach school, you're tired. But again, you have to prepare your siblings. I think as the oldest, and there were 5 children after me. And I had to make sure that I prepare all of them for school in the morning before I also left for school. When I came back home, I remember I keep telling my sisters, because now they are big, I tell them, I can't forget you. I used to brush 5 pairs of shoes of the children who are below. I would clean those shoes. I would wash their uniforms in the evening. I would come back to washing utensils. It was tough as for a child, but somehow I hung in, I think by the grace of God. I hung in, I continued. All my sisters left home, but I didn't. At some point in time, my sisters came back home because the condition for my father to give you school fees was that you had to stay where he is. So at some point in time, they lost and left. And for me, I stayed. I actually stayed. I remember one of those days. There was a time when you would come back home, you do all that work and there isn't even food. And you come back, you're tired as a child, you've been to school in the morning, you did work, you've gone to school, then you come back, there is no food, but you have to do work. So there was that, a lot of work, but I am happy. I can't say I did it like this. I think the grace of God was on me, that somehow I handled, because all my sisters failed. They failed. I stayed. I managed to put up with my stepmother until senior six. Senior six here in Uganda is the last class before you go to university. So after my senior six, my father told me, no, I remember a scenario that I'll never forget in senior four. In Uganda, we do examinations at senior four and senior six. That's O level and A level. And I remember when I was going to do my examinations at O level, my father, I don't know what came over him. He became so violent. He beat me up. He chased me out of home. Told me I was not listening to my stepmother. And I think it's the first time that my father turned against me. And I felt so betrayed because he's one person that I held on to. So he beat me badly. He threw out all my things. He set fire on all my books, my clothes, my everything. And I ran away. So by the time I came back, I didn't have anything. I didn't even have a book to read. And this was the last time when we are sitting final examinations. But I really thank God that because of the trust that my father had actually placed in me, he had made me a signatory. I would go and withdraw money. I knew that. But also, secondly, we had tenants at home and they would pay me money since he was away. So I would always receive the money. So I used that money to pay for my self-examinations. When he had refused to pay, thank God the tenants were not given a notice not to give me money. So when they gave me, I also radically took it and paid for my school needs. And I was able to sit for O level. I really thank God that I even passed. I don't even know how, because I didn't have a single book. But I managed to pass and even continued to senior six. And after senior six, my father told me, hey, you're very many. It is not only you who will study. You have to stop here. So he told me I had to stop and give my little sisters and siblings space so they can also be supported. My father was a polygamous man. We grew up in a home that had different children from different homes, from different moms. So we were many put in one place, but from different parents. So at that point in time, my late father said that I could not continue with school because it was overwhelming for him to support me at university level. And that is about the time now I remembered I had a mom. So that is the time I left and joined my mom. So me and my mom were not that close. We got close when I was big. We were not close because one, like I tell people, I grew up in a family where I was the darkest. I had the darkest skin, and that was an insult to me all the time. You know, when siblings fight, the first insult that would come was about my skin color. And it didn't go down well with me because even my mother didn't defend me. So all the time she would say, but are you really my daughter with that color? That's why you do this. So even on times where my father would have many women and I knew them because my father, somehow whenever he got a woman, he would move with me and take me there. So I knew all his concubines, and my mother used to ask me, so where does this person stay? And I used not to share. That would annoy her, and she would say, but are you really my daughter? Are you this? You keep hiding stuff from me. So that created actually an enmity between me and my mom, and that's why we didn't get along. Even when my father brought home a woman, I chose to stay with my father because I felt I was safer in the hands of my father than my mother. But now, after senior six, I knew I couldn't go to university. I said, no, I need to now go to my mother. My mother was a vendor. She would sit at the old taxi park. Here we have a new taxi park and the old taxi park. So she used to sell bread at the old taxi park, in the taxi park. So I went to her and told her, do you know what? I think we have to work together because I can't stop here. I have to go to university. My dream was to be a lawyer. I really wanted to do law. So I told my mother I have to continue with school. And at university, I had actually gotten a place at Makerere University. And I told her I am not losing this. So she told me, but I don't have money. You know, for me, I can sell bread and we get some money home. That is all I can afford, to give you food, but I can't take you to school. So I told her, do you know what? Then we shall work together. We will go together if that means we will increase the income. And she thought I was joking. Until one day I told her I am going with you. So by then I was 18 years. So I started working with my mother. I used to wake up early in the morning because my mom is asthmatic. So she does not wake up when it's very cold. So I would wake up in the morning, go to the park, buy the bread, book the things, organize our stall, put on the bread and everything, and then sell until she comes in later in the day. And when she would come in, I would now go to school. My classes were in the evening. So that is how I managed, and I graduated. I was so happy with me. And by the time I graduated, I also had my independent stall. And for me now, I didn't sell bread. I was selling mangoes. I was selling apples. I used to sell fruits. Any fruit, I would put it on my stall. And my stall had actually established, and I would get good money to support me as a young girl. And at that point in time, when I graduated, by the time I graduated, I had gotten a job at Monitor Publications. And to let you know, I didn't continue with my law course because law was very expensive and I didn't have the money. So I didn't go to university directly. I went to an institution. And that is where I branched because that is what my mom could afford. And I did a diploma in journalism. So that is how I diverted to being a journalist, and a profession that I really love because I get to interact with all sorts of people. So
And are you pursuing journalism?
I think in 2016, that's when I stepped aside. I still tell stories of children. I do talk to children about media. I empower young girls to use media well. Skills building in media work, camera usage and all that. That's now what I do. And I don't think I've never regretted the decision to do journalism. I have gone back to school. Right now I'm doing a master's in still journalism and media studies. I hope to graduate this year with my master's. So yeah, I have accepted that this is my calling. I love it when I tell people stories for change. And yeah, this is who I am. Yeah.
And looking back, what would your younger self think about the work you're doing today?
I think, first of all, I never envisioned myself as a journalist. In my family, I think I was the first person to graduate. I come from a family don't want to call it poor, but I come from a normal background, a family that does not have professionals, a normal family. That's where I come from, and I never envisaged myself. But one thing I know, my late father empowered me a lot. I remember when I was a girl, my late father would buy me newspapers every day. He would buy me newspapers and tell me to read. My father was not educated. Like I told you, he was a truck driver. But so I used to write for him things. Applications, I was the one writing for him applications. I think from P6 primary level, I was writing for him applications. If he wanted a job, he would call me, sit with me and tell me, I want to apply for this. Please write for me. So I used to write for him applications. When he's going to sign on things, I used to read for him. So he empowered me a lot of empowerment. I actually attribute it to him. As a girl, he always told me how vulnerable I am, but also he was so protective. Sunday was Father's Day, and I remember I posted on my status on how my late father actually had me. He had me on all his documents. But as a young girl, actually such things caused a lot of trouble between me and my stepmother. And I think I would equally feel bad if a child is treated like that when I am the mother, the woman of the house. So sometimes I don't judge her at all. But that is how much my father empowered me. But despite all that, given my background, given the status of both my parents uneducated, given my family, everything worked against me. So honestly, I am very surprised that I am who I am. But I think God changes stories. I am one of the changed stories.
You are
Yeah.
definitely, because there were so many hurdles, but then you didn't stop. You had a goal name and you held yourself so beautifully together, and that does
Yes.
matter.
Yes, I
So,
didn't stop.
yeah.
I keep telling people I don't know what really gave me that oomph. But also
Strength.
what I think what I went through pushed me. First of all, I grew up with this hatred for marriage. Sometimes
I
I
get
think
it.
I'm the reason why I am a single mother. Because I felt marriage was not something for me because of the violence that I witnessed, because of the polygamous environment that I grew up in. So my dream was not even directed towards maybe getting married, no. I realized I needed to take my books seriously. I needed to study. So my focus was always on completing school. And I think that kept me going. I can't even say there is any other science. But I never got diverted. I keep telling people, no, and I'm not married.
Now let's focus a bit on the founding of High Sound for Children. What inspired you to create High Sound for Children in Uganda?
So after my media days, I remember I was a political reporter in my country. And in 2016, we had elections in Uganda. And I used to cover the opposition. It came with a lot of taking in of tear gas, being beaten. So it was a rough one. And I told myself, I think I have served my country enough. I have been in journalism for 12 years. By then it was 12 years. And I said I need to change. By then I was a news reporter. I was a news anchor. And I had been promoted to an editor. I felt I had done it all. I was an editor, as a reporter, as a news anchor. And I didn't see myself in a country like Uganda owning a TV station or radio station at that time. So that is when in 2016, that is when it started crossing my mind that I need to think about my next step. And I remember I told myself that after the elections in 2016, I must change the atmosphere. I need to change my life. And after 2016, there was a TV starting by Uganda where I was hired to prepare their news because they had a news bulletin that they were introducing and they wanted me to be behind it as an editor. So I took up that task. And I started working for Uganda Kingdom, where I helped it set up for 1 year. And I felt I had done enough media work. But deep down, I didn't envisage myself into children work. I always wanted to do something around women and girls, because I felt they are vulnerable and all that. So that was my area of concentration. But one time I chose to sit in a place. Sit down, I was praying, but also thinking about my life, putting things together. And I settled for children. I said, I think I have a huge piece of work to do for children, because many childhoods get diverted and children don't become who they should become. I said I will continue to do media work, but for children. And back then I didn't have a job, I didn't have an income. Being a single mother, everyone looked at me as a mad woman. Because people felt, so how are you going to live? You have to look after the children. By then, I had my daughter and my son, but they were little. But I said, no, I need to make a decision. I was so determined. So I went. I didn't have a lot of money. Media in Uganda is not very profiting. I think it is something you do to give back to the community, but there isn't a lot of money in the media in Uganda. So I just decided to go into children. And I remember when I told, the first person I spoke to was a colleague I used to work with at KFM, where I used to work. So I spoke to him and he told me, yeah, even Jesus said, let the little children come to me. I will fully support you. So just like that, he gave me the energy to keep pushing. And before I noticed, I was connected to someone who worked in the judiciary. We sat together and he told me, okay, what do you want? I told him everything that I wanted. And he told me, okay, go sleep over it and look for a name. Look for a name. I'm also going to look for a name. So we gave ourselves an assignment to go and look for an appropriate name given what I had shared with him. And that is how we came up with High Sound for Children. We went ahead to
Wonderful.
Yeah. And that is how High Sound for Children was birthed.
And do you also feel that the childhood you had lived and expected it to be, but did not get to experience, inspire your mission?
A lot. I think I matured before my age. I didn't get enough guidance. I didn't get enough support as a child. That is why I keep saying that I think it was good. Because I can't say I got a lot of guidance. No. My late father, like I told you, was a traveler all the time on the road. He used to drive trucks to Sudan. That is where he used to spend most of his time. And most of the time I spent it home, and at school and at home with my stepmother. So growing up, when you have 5 siblings, almost same age, from different women, they are in the same stage and you're looking after them. That grew me really quick. So I believe my childhood was rocked in a way. I didn't get to experience the childhood that I did. I didn't get
Okay.
to explore, or even the best gotten out of me. So sometimes I feel, yes, it actually drives me. That's why when I'm talking about things to do with children, violence against children, I am passionate. I have been there, and I feel no child should go through what I went through. No child should witness violence in a home. It affects them. The violence I grew up seeing affected me. It made me have a different perception of what life is. It gave me a wrong picture of the composition of a family. And it is now that I realize, and whenever I come across such children, I make sure I support. I wish I could support as much as I want to support.
If kids are exposed to such ecosystem, they frame things that they shouldn't, right? About the composition of the family or relationship between a husband and a wife, the relationship between parents and kids. So there are different aspects that are impacted because that influences their life going forward. So every child deserves the best ecosystem to be nurtured. They are the future generation, right? They are the future. They have to be provided with all the opportunities
To be loved.
as best as possible.
And to be loved. I keep telling
And to be loved, yes.
love
Absolutely.
is key for children. For children, it is something that I have prayed for to God to give me love, because I had such a tough heart, and I didn't even realize I was rough. I didn't, because that is the life that I grew up in. So I thought it was normal. Sometimes a loner. Sometimes it's hard for me to make friends. So these are things that we live with. Even up to now, I struggle. But because of what I went through during childhood, I keep telling people, support children at that stage, because it determines who they become. It has a huge impact on who they are. For me, I did actually realize getting married was good, and until about 4-5 years ago. That is when I believed in marriage. It is too late for me. I am 45. So, but why? Because of what I went through, because of the picture that I got about marriage, issues of love. For me, God,
I get it. I hear you. I hear you. Absolutely.
I pray. My prayer is that it is a sad one. I pray that people are able to support children when they need them. Yeah.
So, talking about your venture, your dream project, why did you choose media and communication as tools for child empowerment over traditional interventions?
Yeah, because media is an area that I understood so well. I felt I was not starting from zero. Media is a platform that so many people listen to, watch. Like, media is a part of now us. Every single day, everyone wakes up to listen to radio to know what is happening, or to watch TV, or even check your phone. Whoever checks their phone, you know that they are looking for the latest. And for me, I told myself that this is, first of all, media is an area that I am experienced in, and children is a passion. So if I join two things, it will be great. I knew that by telling stories of children, I would have spoken out for so many children, for bringing forth issues that have been ignored, issues that people don't even pay attention to. I remember about 3-4 years ago, 4 years ago, after COVID, years there, after that, people could not attach a lot of value to media and children because they felt it was so far from their children, our media. For us, for example, when we were growing up in my family, we used not to watch TV as children. You only watch TV when you have showered. And we hated showering.
True.
So we hated showering. So we would watch TV in the evening when we are tired of playing. And then we are able to shower. Then before you know it, you're seated on TV and dozing and you sleep. So that was our life. But today, children even own phones. Children want to know what's happening. Children are connected already. So I saw it as a virgin area that I could explore and go deep into. It's not an area in Uganda, it is still very, very virgin. People, even their awareness is just coming. Before, 4 years ago, you would talk and people don't relate. They would only relate when you're telling stories of a child has been defiled, a child maybe is lost. Those are the stories they would relate to when it comes to media. Today, it's a different story. It's a different story because our children are using gadgets. We need to train them on proper usage. We need to guard them against inappropriate content. So there is quite a lot, but it is something that I felt I had an edge because of my background. So I felt I wanted to be in an area where I would speak with command, but also use the skills that I had to push an agenda. So that was a driver, and I am happy that right now when I stand up, the other time, last week we addressed a press conference, even getting other civil society organizations joining to understand that we need to do this. Before they couldn't relate. Today I was happy we sat with over 10 organizations and they were speaking about media for children. So, but it has been a journey. Passion as a driver. I don't know if I looked at money or survival, I would not be running. But the passion, the zeal to see change kept me going. And I am happy that today everyone is appreciating that we need to protect children against inappropriate media content. So yes, and it is actually one of the things that is affecting young people. Many young people are consuming a lot that is not their ages and affecting them. Many young people who have tried drugs and got hooked have found them online. They've gotten to know them through media. They keep connecting to the groups that they do connect to through media. So this is the time that we need to support our children. Not even, I keep telling adults that it's not a time to condemn, but rather support. So it is a time I am happy that what I saw as my passion, pushing a dream, is now becoming national and global. So yeah, that is it.
And you explored a very new space because the traditional interventions were in place, but this was quite a virgin area that you were targeting. When you started the organization, what problems did you feel society wasn't paying much attention to?
One of the things we were not aware that actually media had an impact on children. 2, we didn't know that actually children needed to feature in the media. Away from the stories that we usually say, a child has been found dead, a child has been defiled. Away from those normal ones, what are we doing to protect children even before the harm happens to them? We are focused on responding to issues after them happening, but we can do prevention. But we can't do it unless we bring forth issues that concern children. So even in the media, sometimes I say to fellow journalists and they laugh at me. They're like, how many stories of children did you used to do? But I told them, okay, now I am converted. Can you please also convert? Because why? We used to chase the stories of the day, but we forget that, for example, in Uganda, over 50% population is made up of young people. So who do we serve? You realize that we are chasing things for the wrong audience. So I keep telling people, so when are we serving the over 50% audience? When do we serve it? We are ever chasing the others who is doing the, but what about the children? How much content are we broadcasting? If I am not a child, I am a mother, I am an uncle, I am a teacher. So in my surrounding are children. But guess what? We hustle so much to look after children. The reason we hustle from morning to night is because of children. But guess what? We are not giving attention to the issues that affect them. So,
Absolutely.
so this is some of the things that I keep telling my fellow media people. I am happy that there has been a shift. When I started talking about this in 2021, my fellow media people raised at me. I used to be a journalist and I would trash stories that came in when they are not very hot. On a hot day, there are stories you look out for because you're competing. And I keep telling them, hello, please, now listen to me. You're a mother, you're an uncle, you're this and this. Would you keep working if this happened to your child? No, I wouldn't. Okay, so why don't you want to empower that child? Why don't you want to talk about issues that affect that child? And I am happy that there are some new converts. I keep talking to everyone on the need to protect children, on the need to highlight the media, by the way, is not bad per se. I keep telling young people, me too, I love media up to now, so you can't tell me that you can't use media. But how do we responsibly use it? How do we responsibly tell stories of children without exposing them? How do we continue to leverage the development, to leverage whatever is happening, the revolution, the digital era, to empower our children and support them stay safe? So this is what I keep talking about. And yes, it was a virgin ground. It is still a virgin ground. In Uganda, it is just growing. Before, I think about 3 years ago, when we spoke about media, people felt like it was for the rich. And we would talk to children in some remote schools, and parents would see it as something high class, above their imagination. But guess what? Research has had it that actually many children are accessing media despite their background. How they do it, I keep telling people, children will find a way. We are working with the Gen Zs, the Alphas. They're very smart. Whether you want or not, whether you block them or not, they will get there. So how do you support them? This is what we are talking about.
To stay connected, visit our website and follow Healthy Aligned Living on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more conversations, insights, and updates. If you would like to reach out, you can contact us by phone at 1-866-213-0518 or email us at info@healthyalignedliving.com. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might benefit from it as well.